The Honey Valley is located southeast of Medellin, on the mountainous outskirts of Envigado. Although most of the region has been cut by new home construction in recent years, significant tracts of native forest remain to cover large areas. Armadillos, sloths, and huge iridescent butterflies can be seen in the woodlands. In this video, we will talk about Pablo Escobar's $10 billion worth of abandoned mansions. As part of a 1991 agreement with Colombian authorities, Medellin cartel head Pablo Escobar chose a location high above this valley in the cold highlands for his self-designed prison. By 1991, Escobar's life was collapsing around him after a decade of amassing an empire of enemies. Los Pepes, a vigilante organization, short for People Persecuted by Pablo Escobar, was chasing him and would eventually slaughter over 300 of his associates and family members. He was at odds with the Cartel de Cali. He'd seen drug barons like Carlos later extradited to the United States. The Ochoa brothers turned themselves in to serve time in Colombian prisons. Others like Gonzalo Rodriguez Gacha or El Mexicano perish in police gunfights. Manuela, his daughter, had been injured in a bombing at his house. He was a man who was constantly under the threat of being hunted. A deal with the Colombian government was reached after 6 months of secret negotiations. Escobar would be imprisoned, but the prison would be built to his specifications on 3 hectares of land he had purchased, in anticipation of a possible deal with the government. He would also have the option of selecting his own guards as part of the deal. The location, always close to his family, provided him with a straight line of sight to his family's home. It is believed that he used a telescope to see his daughter while on the phone. Escobar's entry into prison provided him with protection not just from potential assassins, but also from what he feared the most: extradition to the United States. He worried about a system where bribing jail guards and judges would be brutal. Escobar arrived at the prison in a helicopter on June 19, 1991, to serve his sentence. La Catedral, or the Cathedral, was the name of the complex. It wasn't a religious reference, but rather a gesture to its magnificence. Unofficially, it was known as Club Medellin or Hotel Escobar, and resort is a better word than jail to describe it. Escobar's plans included a jacuzzi in the bathroom and a circular rotating bed in the bedroom. A soccer field, a discotheque, a doll home for his daughter, and its own bar were all part of the estate. A waterfall was present. It contained cellular phones, radio transmitters, and a fax machine to let him carry on with his operation, which brought his cartel $60 million per day at its peak and allowed him to control up to 80% of the cocaine smuggled to the United States. Escobar's family came up from Envigado 3 or 4 times a week to visit him at La Catedral, as did friends, professional soccer players, and prostitutes if he so desired. He was a regular host of drug and booze-fueled parties. Authorities let him manage the area until he ordered 4 of his lieutenants to be tortured and executed at the complex over a money dispute. The authorities then determined that things had gone too far and decided to relocate Escobar to a military base. 2 unarmed officials arrived to advise the cartel commander of the changes: a deputy justice minister and the chief of the national prison system. They said that the change was just temporary until La Catedral could be safer. On the surface, it appeared to be a very typical prisoner surrender. The barbed wire and concrete exterior, on the other hand, was a thin veil over a completely different reality. While most federal prisoners in the United States have access to a gym, they rarely have access to a sauna, jacuzzi, or pool with a waterfall. They also lack outdoor sporting facilities large enough to host national sports teams, as Escobar did when he invited the whole Colombian national soccer team to play on his home soccer pitch. In fact, La Catedral was so lavish that it included an industrial kitchen, a billiards area, multiple bars with big screen TVs, and a disco where the drug lord threw wedding parties while incarcerated. In the arms of beauty queens, he ate stuffed turkey, caviar, fresh salmon, and smoked trout. As opponents of the negotiated surrender program had predicted, Escobar's imprisonment did not stop him from conducting his drug empire. More than 300 uninvited guests, including some wanted criminals, stayed at Hotel Escobar during the kingpin's tenure there. The Colombian authorities decided it was time to end the charade in 1992, when Escobar ordered the assassination of many cartel leaders and their entourages and families from the comfort of his opulent La Catedral. On the other hand, Escobar was well gone by the time army personnel arrived at Club Medellin, having just strolled out the door unmolested. He'd only been in prison for 13 months out of a 5-year term. While still on the run, Pablo Escobar was famously slain in a gunfight a year later. But in the case of La Catedral, Escobar's opulent prison sat empty for years, until the government loaned it to a group of Benedictine monks, who alleged that the former owner's ghost still haunts the premises at night. The property was acquired by the city of Envigado in 2007, and a group of Benedictine monks from the Benedictine Fraternidad Monastica Santa Gertrudis arrived in 2007 to study, pray, and living a hermetic existence. A chapel, housing rooms, a restaurant, and a library were created. The city eventually gave them the entire plot of land so that they could generate an asylum for Envigado's needy and elderly. Construction is still going on. To get to La Catedral, you can either drive or walk an hour from the last bus stop on the line, passing via scattered country homes on the road up the mountain. Mountain bikers flock to the climb on weekends. As you approach the area, the first sight of Escobar's era is a maintained concrete lookout tower a few hundred meters below the main building complex. After the steep ascent, the final stretch before arriving at the prison levels brings you to the access gate. The main road empties into a parking lot from the gate, where you are greeted by a gray and white cat with a Barum brawl nose, who now guards the grounds in place of the 40 prison guards. The parking lot was constructed on top of the previous soccer field. Escobar held court here, presiding over trials of his subordinates that frequently culminated in deaths and tortures, and playing soccer with Colombian national team stars. From the parking area, you may also get your first glimpse of the vista from La Catedral, which spans the entire city of Medellin and stretches all the way to Quetzal Mountain at the Val's northern end. An entirely new collection of structures without public access has risen behind the former soccer field, housing, and facilities for the senior people of La Catedral, who began coming around a year ago. Mosaic work, gaudy like molded railings, last year's Christmas decorations, and vibrant paintings of flowers, animals, monks, and peasants fill the compound. A gardener with a transistor radio and a machete tend to the colorful flora. It's as though the monks hope that flamboyant garish ornamentation will assist in compensating for the atrocities committed here 20 years ago. A small planetarium has begun construction in a former watchtower in the compound's northeast corner, and an events center and a museum, the contents of which the monk who answered my questions regarding La Catedral's intentions did not know. Returning to the entry gate and up a secondary route that branches off, you'll reach the Benedictine monks' new main monastery, which sits atop the hill above the asylum's facilities for the elderly. It's a timber log edifice with Gregorian chants that feels disorienting Germanic. A memorial for the bikers who make it up the mountain is nearby with a monument of stacked mountain bikes and an oratory plaque. It's close to a bit of Plazoleta, which is guarded by a Pita sculpture, a giant metal cross, and 5 flagpoles. Pablo Escobar, Boss of Evil, a fictional television drama, has become a huge hit. Escobar-related location tours in Medellin have proven to be popular, now that the city is one of the safest in Latin America, and more than 2 decades have passed since Escobar terrorized the general public with a war against the state. It appears that some Colombians temper their condemnation not only with curiosity, but perhaps with a smidgen of pride that the evil genius was a relative. What do you think about Escobar's mansions and immense wealth? Tell us in the comments section below. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to like and hit that subscribe button before you go. Thanks for watching.